The pain I was in was absolutely unbearable. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. Boy, have I got a story for you. Those of you who have been following me will be expecting my 6-week out update for my competition, but instead this is what you're getting, I'm afraid, and I'm gonna try and keep this as lighthearted as possible. So the last time that I filmed was last Thursday, October 17th, and I trained legs that day. It was actually a really hard leg session, and a few days leading up to that I'd kind of had a bit of a sore throat, like I lost my voice and stuff, so in the video I was talking about how my voice had just come back and how I was feeling a lot better. On the Friday morning I woke up super early at like 3 o'clock in the morning to a pain in my mouth, and it was pretty bad. Like, it was bad enough to wake me up, bad enough that there was no way I was going to go back to sleep. So I took paracetamol and ibuprofen, just like normal over-the-counter painkillers, and that took the edge off enough for me to kind of go about my day, but I was aware of it all day. So I went about my day as normal, went to bed that night, and I honestly thought the next day I would wake up and I would be completely back to normal. That did not happen. So Saturday morning I woke up and the pain had definitely gotten worse. It was especially intense in my jawline, and I thought that maybe I had like a tooth infection, and my eye was seriously throbbing as well. So I thought that maybe I had like some sort of infection in the root of my tooth. It kind of felt like somebody had like blown up a balloon inside the right side of my head and also like punched me in the jaw. And by this point the painkillers had kicked in a little bit and kind of, it felt like it had shrunk the pain down to one point on the roof of my mouth, and I was like, that's really weird. It was on the right side of the roof of my mouth, but it was right near the midline, so it didn't make sense for it to be the root of a tooth because there's no way that a tooth root would reach that far. So I decided I would text my friend Claire, who is a dentist. She immediately asked if all of the pain was only on one side of my head, and I said yes, definitely. It definitely is not bothering my left side at all. It actually was really weird because the pain in the roof of my mouth would go right up to the midline and then just stop. It was just so bizarre. The left side of my face was completely fine. And she said at this point it could be shingles. I called NHS 24, which is a service in the UK where you can call at any time of day and you can speak to a clinician, tell them your symptoms, and they will evaluate your situation and send you to the appropriate facility. They immediately put me through to the dental side of things, and I said, look, I really don't think this is dental. The funny thing was I'd actually been to the dentist like 2 weeks before, and I'd had an x-ray, I'd had a full checkup, and there was nothing. Like, there was no abscesses, there was no decay, I don't have any fillings, I haven't had any major dental work. So it really didn't make sense that in that 2-week period things could have deteriorated that much, but at the same time it did feel like it was coming from my teeth to me, so it was kind of a weird situation. But anyway, I managed to convince them that I needed to see a doctor rather than a dentist. So anyway, I had to wait a few hours because I wasn't like a priority case, which was totally fine. I didn't really think it was like a massive emergency or anything. So they got me an appointment and I went to see them, and at first I was diagnosed with severe sinusitis. So she gave me like a decongestant and some strong painkillers because of how much pain I was in. I remember I just burst into tears. They gave me cocodamol and naproxen, and as soon as I took these things seemed to start to improve. So I was like, awesome, that's all it was. It was just like really bad sinusitis, block sort of thing, and it's going to be fine tomorrow. So that night I went to bed, and this is where things start to get a little bit blurry. So I woke up on Sunday morning and the pain I was in was absolutely unbearable. It was the worst pain I had ever felt in my whole life. I can't even explain. The pain in my face everywhere. It was the whole right side of my face, and it literally cut straight down the middle. Like, there was nothing on that side whatsoever. I also had a new symptom by this point. So from my first tooth on my right side right round to the back tooth was numb. Basically the whole right side of the roof of my mouth was numb, apart from at the back where it was just excruciating pain. Like, the center of the pain universe was in the back of the roof of my mouth, and the rest of it was just completely numb. It felt like after you get an injection at the dentist and you have no feeling at all, and it kind of felt like my teeth were falling out, or like I had fake teeth or no teeth, and it felt really weird. But by this point I knew there was something seriously wrong and that it was not sinusitis. So I called again and ended up being treated as an emergency case. They thought I was showing signs of stroke, which was terrifying. Like, I just thought something seriously bad was happening. But they got me in super fast, and then when I was evaluated, they ruled out those things. I looked literally like this. Like, I just looked completely normal. There was nothing to go on. Like, even still, the roof of my mouth just looked completely normal. I took a picture that day, which I will put on the screen, and there was just absolutely nothing that I could see that would indicate that there was some infection in my mouth. So I was just convinced that there was something in my like brain or something really bad going on. So after this, they decided that there was no emergency. They started exploring the possibility that it could be shingles. Bearing in mind this was now 2 days after my symptoms had started and there was no rash, which is a classic sign of shingles. But sometimes it doesn't appear straight away. Sometimes it doesn't appear even as late as 5 or 6 days after symptoms first start. So they decided to treat for shingles because she said it's super important to treat really early. It can really stop the virus from getting much, much worse. So they prescribed me something called aciclovir on a 7-day course, and they sent me on my way and said if anything changes, anything gets worse, then come right back. The pain was fluctuating so much at this point. I remember I would have moments where I felt like I could kind of move around and even like talk to people, and then other times it was just absolutely crippling and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even get up off the couch. All I could do was lie there and just think about how much pain I was in. So by the time it got to about 11 o'clock that night, the pain had escalated again, and the pain was primarily in my eye, and it was just absolutely unbearable. I also noticed that some tiny little dots had appeared on the roof of my mouth, like very, very, very small blisters. I think there was like 2 or 3 of them, but they did look like shingles blisters. By this point I had googled the hell out of it, so I knew what they looked like. They did look like it, but in all the pictures I'd seen there was like loads and loads and loads of them, and I had like 3. And the thing with shingles is when you have shingles in your face, it can be a big risk to your eyesight. And this, paired with the fact that I had a huge amount of pain in my right eye, was pretty scary. So I called back and I spoke with a clinician again and asked what she thought. Is there any risk to my eye here? Like, is there anything that I can do? Is there anything that I should be doing? Like, help me. So again, they treated me as a murder. Back to the hospital I went, and by this point they evaluated the situation again. So for people who don't know, shingles is the same virus that causes chickenpox, which is called the varicella virus. Everyone who's had chickenpox has got that virus in them, because after you have chickenpox, the virus becomes dormant and lives in the roots of your nerves. It's kind of known as like an older person's disease, or people whose immune systems are compromised in some way. So obviously I'm neither of those things. I'm young, like it's literally my job to be fit and healthy, so it didn't really make any sense. But it can also become active if you have been under a great amount of stress, which if you watch my channel you will know that I have had like an absolute shit show of a few months. So it's kind of like these last few months just all came down to this. So they managed to identify the nerve that was being affected in me, and it basically runs from your ear. I also had a lot of pain in my ear, by the way. I didn't really mention that because it was lesser than my eye and jaw. But anyway, so the nerve starts sort of in your ear, I think, and splits off into a few different tracts, and one comes under your eye, one comes like into like sort of the corner of your nose, and one comes along the top of your jawline. I think that's it. Not totally sure, but basically by determining that it was this nerve and not the one above it, which comes up here. I will try and keep this lighthearted again, but before this they were talking about admitting me to hospital and putting me on an IV drip of antivirals because of the concern for my eye. So after that anyway, they prescribed me some amitriptyline, which is a nerve painkiller. So by this point I was on naproxen, cocodamol, amitriptyline and aciclovir, which is the antiviral, and I was absolutely off my rocker. And luckily that was my last trip to the hospital. The rash in my mouth never really worsened. I should also say that the reason that the rash presented in my mouth is because that's where that nerve meets the surface. So normally people get it on their bodies and have it in a certain patch or band, and that's where that nerve meets the skin, I think anyway. And because this nerve is internal, all of my pain was internal and the rash was in my mouth, and it never presented on my skin at all. I think because I did get the antivirals before the rash really appeared. It kept it from getting as bad as it possibly could have. Who knows? It's really rare to have shingles in that part of your body. It's fairly common to have it on your body. I think quite a lot of people get it through their life on their arm or their back or their stomach or whatever, but in your mouth, not so much. So I thought that that would be an interesting story for you guys and also potentially help somebody one day. If anyone watching this video ever happens to get shingles in this way in the future or knows somebody who does, then maybe one day this will help someone. Anyhow, I thought I would share that with you guys because honestly, I don't really have anything else to update you on. I don't have anything else to tell you. It's been 10 days now and I've not done anything since then really, apart from just kind of try and get back on my feet. I've been told not to exert myself for another 3 weeks. I've not been to the gym, I've not done any cardio. So yeah, obviously my plans to compete on December 7th in Atlantic City are up in the air right now. I'm not gonna say I am not doing it. It's not looking likely though, is it? The whole year was working towards London, which is next weekend, and obviously I decided not to compete in that show. I'm going anyway to watch. A couple of my best friends are competing. My friend Beth and my friend Mags. Mags you will know if you've watched my Vegas vlogs from last year. So I made the decision not to do that show and to focus on Atlantic City in December, and now this has happened and it's shit. Like I said, I'm not really out just yet. I don't know if that's just me being stupid, but I feel like if I say I'm not doing it, I'm just gonna lose the plot. So, but yeah, I mean, health has to come first, so we'll see how we go. It just feels like the whole of this year, all the work I put in. Anyway, I'm gonna end this video here. Thank you for watching right to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm probably going to be filming a lot more like this in the flat and maybe doing something a little bit different in the near future since I can't go to the gym. So if you guys have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And yeah, thanks again for watching guys, and I will see you all in the next one.